as luck would have it, right as I go on vacation, they drop all of the information for Season 4 of Diablo 4, which is named Loot Reborn. Now, they actually are going to talk about what the seasonal theme is, as well as break down all the changes. Here you can see the codex of all the different changes we're going to talk about today. They say this starts May 14th at 10 a.m. Pacific, so that's when Season 4 will begin, and it's sort of focused on the Hellborn, the Iron Wolves, and the Loot Reborn, which is the change of itemization. So the Iron Wolves, if you've been following along with the videos, this was data mined as being a reputation sort of system with rewards. We're going to be fighting alongside them. They are a seasoned mercenary company of brethren aiming to quell the demons. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is the itemization reforged. If you've been watching videos, you're going to know a pretty good amount of this, so we're just going to talk about some of the general highlights of what this is. Effectively, they are reworking itemization to make it more simple. Now, instead of having 4 affixes, legendary items only have 3, but those affixes will be much more simple, and then ancestral items will be able to get up to 5 affixes that you add 2 more on yourself, and the other legendary items will be able to add 1 more. So, for instance, here's an example. You start with 3 affixes on a legendary ancestral item. It's very simple stats now, intelligence, damage, and damage over time. Then after you tempered it, now they added summoning damage and chance for the bow and spear projectile to be cast twice. This is an ancestral item, so you can have 2 temperings. Now they're going to go down and break down the reasoning for why they did this, as well as some of the salvage materials. Basically, salvage materials across the board are getting buffed. It's going to be adjusted to match the drop rates that are required in order to actually do this, so that way you're not just always starving for salvage materials. Forgotten Souls can also be earned from the Whisper bounties, and the gold cost to reroll items with enchanting now only as a maximum. So some quality of life changes in terms of salvaging and crafting. Now, this one's kind of cool. Additionally, which world tier you play in would directly affect the rarity of the items you earned. So before, you'd be able to get sacred items in world tier 4. Now that's no longer a thing. Sacreds only drop in world tier 3. Ancestral only drop in world tier 4. So you're no longer getting those items that you know for sure are completely worthless before you can pick them up, because they say sacred when you're in-game, for instance. So this is a nice quality of life change. And items will always be 925 power if over level 95 monster that they dropped from. So for that reason, again, you're guaranteed, you see an item, legendary item, it's going to be an ancestor if it's over a 95, and you know it's a 925 item power. So it's you're much more willing to look at each and every item, because you have a much higher chance of that actually being usable. While there's still no item filter in the game, this is filtering down innately the amount of garbage that will be showing on the ground for some quality of life. Also, Ubers can now drop at level 55 monsters and higher, so much earlier you could get lucky with an Uber, and uniques can start dropping now in World Tier 1 and 2. So basically anywhere in the game, you can now start having unique items to drop, and all uniques will start dropping at World Tier 3. So we're getting all of the uniques earlier, and some of the uniques even earlier everywhere in the game. So you could get that rather early, which would be nice. And this also means things like if you're one of the druids trying to get Temperance Roar, for instance, you could get that while you're leveling, as opposed to having to level and then go to World Tier 4 and hopefully get it there. So that's a nice quality of life change. Speaking of quality of life, the Codex of Power now is upgraded and stores your legendary aspects. So before, one of the big tips I had to give people was like, save your max row legendary aspects for when you get a good item. That's no longer relevant. You don't have to do that anymore, because now when you salvage and you get your aspects, they get stored in the codex, saving inventory space, as well as being able to reuse those aspects over and over again. This is a really nice quality of life change. You do have to refarm these every season, but it will go back to the Eternal Realm once you do it and store permanently in the Eternal Realm whatever you did in your season. But as you acquire these and match them out, they're going to have a little frame showing that you've got a max roll of it, for instance. So this is probably going to be one of the nicest quality of life changes for people. Tempering is how you're going to add additional affixes. So like I say, you can only have 3 affixes, 4 on legendaries and 5 on the ancestral legendaries, and you can temper something twice, adding 2 more different affixes on them with crafting manuals or recipes, basically, that you're going to be finding around the world. These recipes will give you an opportunity to add one of the different affixes here. For instance, you can see this is the Bone Augments, Tempering, Crafting Manual, and it will give you 4 different ones. Chance for Bone Splinters to go twice, chance for Bone Spear to cast twice. You can see, so you get a chance to get one of these 4. You can temper an item twice, having, again, from the 3 base to a total of 5 affixes. So we're actually going on the high end, 1 more affix than before, but now the affixes should be more simple, and only the more complicated ones really can drop from like these crafting manuals here. Here's an example of the crafting manual that you would get, and then you right-click it and you learn it. You don't need a manual to be consumed in order to do one temporary. Manuals, once you've learned them permanently for your account, so you don't have to worry about reacquiring this over and over and over again as a consumable material. There's also now Masterworking, and Masterworking is a way to continually upgrade your items. So these are going to, as you masterwork with materials you get from the pit, which we'll talk about in just a moment, as you masterwork, it's going to increase the percentage of all your affixes, and every 4 of your masterworks, it's going to massively increase 1 of the affixes. This is can happen a total of 12 times to masterwork an item. There is a chance of failing this, which is why it says success chance 100th or lower. But as you go higher and higher, the chance to fail will become higher and higher as well, meaning there's going to be a little bit of RNG and some grind behind actually fully masterworking an item. And obviously there's RNG behind which of the affixes will get massively increased. So the end game in terms of itemization is going to be acquiring items, doing the pit in order to get masterworking materials, farming the masterworking over and over again, and hopefully hitting that RNG of hitting the correct stat line that you're trying to buff here. Now, they say using the rarest materials found from the deepest mining caverns, basically the pit, improve your weapons to the absolute pinnacle of their potential. Masterworking is an in-game crafting system using materials earned from the pit to upgrade your weapons. Improves the overall strength of all affixes on your weapon, but at every 4, massively upgrades one of your equipped affixes, and that affix receives a bonus that will turn blue. If the same affix is approved again, it will turn yellows, and in rare cases, it will be orange. So you're going blue, yellow, orange. Hopefully you get orange, and all 3 of them are on like damage percentage or something crazy. And you can see a little bit of a visual here. All affixes are increased by 5%, for instance. So if you hit the max level of masterworking on a given weapon and you're unsatisfied with the improvements in your weapon, you can reset it and go again. So if you get a good base item that you want, the base item isn't ruined, you can keep going, try to upgrade it. You're like, I didn't get it, I'm going to do the whole process over again, and you can start reworking your item once again. Now, greater affixes are pretty cool. Now, they had an example of greater affixes earlier, which is effectively one of the items. I'll scroll up here so you can see this. One of your affixes, in fact, multiple affixes, have the opportunity to be a greater affix, which is what this little star is here next to damage. A greater affix is effectively an affix that has a higher base stat, like it's buffed from the get-go, and you can literally get all of these affixes to have this. It's just RNG that you have it. It's sort of like exalted if you're familiar with Last Epoch, and this can also happen on unique items, and it can happen up to all affixes. So this is actually pretty wild, and this is, imagine you have a greater affix on damage, for instance, and then you triple row masterworking and becomes like an orange greater affix. You're going to have an insane amount of damage. So the ceiling on gear is much higher now, but the floor on terms of quality of it should be higher as well, meaning you're not scouring all of the garbage loot as often. It won't be as annoying to acquire the items, but once you get them, you can improve them higher than we used to be able to. And obviously you can still enchant gear, etc. So as we scroll down to continue to the next point here, each affix on the item has a chance to be greater affix. You cannot enchant an affix into a greater affix. Their awesome power may only be discovered. And they mentioned the greater affix is 1.5 times effectively that what a normal base would be. And it does come with an audio cue when it drops. So you get a tink of when that item drops, which is a nice addition. Gems are simpler, streamlined, more effective across your character's journey. Crude gems have been removed. Crafting levels have been shifted back. Normal gems at 51, flawless 71, royal 91, diamonds have had their all resistance values increased. Topaz now provide increased to intelligence, sapphires, willpower, amethyst, strength, emeralds now provide bonus dexterity. So gems just feel a little bit better and have some better design behind them. All resistance being increased as night's by diamonds, for instance. Now, Helltide Reborn. Now, the Helltides have basically been reworked in order to have significant more mob density and rewards from them. And I can tell you, I hated Helltide before. I actually didn't farm them at all. I didn't do many Uber Durios. I never got an Uber item because I just don't like farming living steel. I don't enjoy it at all. So I don't do things I don't enjoy. But the new Helltide not only seems to be the best way to level in the game now, but the mob density is significantly increased. They did this a number of ways, one of which is the mob density itself is just higher. But there's threat levels that happen sort of like Grand Theft Auto stars, that as you're going through and clearing out mobs, you're generating threat. At different levels, different things are going to happen. For instance, you'll get these, worms that are going to pop up and attack you. You'll get the marked guys that will pop up and attack you. Basically, more mobs are going to start appearing around you. And this does seem unique per player. So I noticed when there's a bunch of players together, like there's quite a bit of mobs. Once you hit level 3, you will become Hellmarked. Once you've been Hellmarked, you'll be besieged by a frenzy of densely packed monsters. Nice. If you make it out alive, a Hellborn will come for you. This is sort of like, you remember those Bloodseekers back from season 2? That's basically what this is. They actually referenced in one of the interviews with Rod Ferguson that I covered earlier on the channel that they specifically took lessons they learned from season 2, which people liked. It was a well-received season, and they added it into season 4 within the Helltide. I actually like this because the Blood Harvest was one of my favorite parts about season 2. So I think that was a good lesson learned there. Unholy Blasphemy, there's an accursed ritual. That's what it looks like. It's the ultimate testament to the disturbing lengths these maniac cultists will go on. Here's where you can begin the accursed ritual. The baneful hearts can be earned by opening torture gifts through the Helltide by defeating the Hellborn enemies. Deposit 3 baneful hearts to begin the ritual, which will commence with a swarm of demonic demons. I tested this during the PTR. Effectively, remember the blood lures when you had like the 50 blood lures and put them on the middle and a ton of mobs come? That's basically what this is, but also has a cool, unique boss with it that's fairly difficult. Lots of monsters show up, and yes, you can contribute one of the hearts, and someone else can contribute another, so you can do it as a group. So I guarantee you, this will be one of the fastest ways to level in the game. You're going to go there, random people will be putting these hearts together, summoning monsters over and over and over again, and you will basically be swarmed. This would be like a horde mode. Very enjoyable to do, actually. The boss is fairly difficult in low design. So Helltides in World Tier 1 and 2. You can now do the Helltides earlier, and again, this is basically one of, if not the fastest way to level in the game. And there's additional changes. An exceptionally valuable new elixir called the Profane Mind Cage is available to up the ante. It's consuming one will increase the level of the Helltide monsters by 10, but also boost the cinder drop rates. So this is a way, once you get really strong, to farm this even faster. These are a guaranteed drop after killing a Hellborn. So you'll see diminishing returns on boosted monster levels closer to level cap. Keep progressing the world tiers to retain the same benefits from this potent elixir. The Mind Cage will only last until the season 4. So this is part of a seasonal mechanic, okay? They've also added fresh events, been added to Helltide. This is true. They added basically events from season 2 and season 3, sort of reskinned Helltide versions into them, which I am perfectly fine with because I like the season 2 events. The season 3 events not as much, but the season 2 events I actually like a good deal. And having the events in here means more monsters, which is basically what everyone wants. Now they're going to talk about the pit here. Now, the pit, they say, is, well, let's just read it here. Upon entering World Tier 4, you receive a priority quest to complete a Tier 46 Nightmare Dungeon. Upon completion, you'll begin to collect rune shards by playing through different in-game activities. They'll appear when you encounter Helltides, World Bosses, Legion Events, Nightmare Dungeons, and Whisper Bounties. Collect the rune shards to activate the Obelisk, allowing you to descend into the beckoning depths of the pit. So basically, you got to do a few of the activities. You get the pieces, you forge together. It creates greater rifts, more or less. And it's basically a greater rift. So you have a 10-minute limit to go through, kill the monsters. I quite like this. The greater rifts were somewhat controversial for people. I just like it because it's an easy way. It's like, all I want to do is kill monsters. I don't have to deal with all this just BS. You just go into the pit, you slay some monsters, you run to the end, you kill a boss, you get your reward, you're done. You get experience, the whole thing, you're fine. So I actually quite like this addition here. When you die, it removes 30 seconds. Second death removes 60. Third and subsequent are 90 deaths, okay? And the pits go up higher and higher and higher tiers as you choose to select what tier you want to do. After enough monsters are slain, Portal materializes, transporting you to the boss area. Slay the boss before the timer expires to get the coveted Masterworking materials. This is the Abyssite, or whatever they call it. And the next Brulu tier of the pit. So you go, I did tier 1, now tier 2, and now tier 5, now tier, et cetera, et cetera. Killing the boss with 6 or more minutes grants you 2 additional tiers. So if you're really blasting through, this will help you skip through the tiers even faster. And there's 200 total levels of the pit if you dare to face the challenge. The pit can be entered in groups of up to 4 players, with the player who spends the rune shards to open the pit earning the lion's share of the materials. Only the player who opened the pit has a chance of receiving the tantalizing Stygian stones used for summoning the tormented echoes, level 200 variants of the boss down in Diablo 4. That's right, there are now like uber versions of the Uber bosses, so you can actually fight those, which will be a nice way for people to test out their power, as the power ceiling seems to have been increased with Season 4. One of these Uber bosses would be Andariel. So people ask for other bosses to come back. They actually added Ode bosses back in the game. The Maiden of Anguish has returned in all her tormented glory. She joins the boss ladder at the same tier as her brother Duriel, with the same uber unique drop rate with a mix of shadow, fire, lightning, and her iconic poison attack. And Duriel stands ready to face all who dare fathom to bring about her demise. And it tells you where you can find her east of Tazarak in the Hanged Man's Halls. Then they also talk about the tormented echoes, which are basically these level 200 ones here. It will require more summon materials to summon them, but you will also be receiving more loot for it. And they say all items dropped from it will be guaranteed 925, of course, and defeating your first tormented echo drops 1 resplendent spark as a first-time reward. So you get 1 spark, which is effectively used to craft an uber unique. So it will help you towards your journey of crafting an uber unique, for instance. Now, this is the seasonal mechanic. Fight with the Iron Wolves. Okay, seek out the battle-hardened stalwart Suda the Anvil. I don't even know if I pronounced that right. Stoic field commander of the Iron Wolves. The Iron Wolves are a band of noble mercenaries in the south seeking to protect the common people of Sanctuary, yada, 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 lore stuff. Okay, so basically it is, in fact, an Iron Wolves event. There's your seasonal theme. The data mine was showing that there's different chests that have all kinds of salvage materials to items that drop from this. So just expect this will be the quest line. Typically, the seasonal quest line aren't the major part of it. It's the boss fights and stuff that come with the seasons, but this will be your seasonal quest line here. Now, earn the rewards with the seasonal journey and battle pass. I'm not going to go into the battle pass too much. Normally, don't care about the battle pass too much, but if you do, there's sort of your visual for that. Season 4 Loot Reborn begins in May 14th, 10 a.m. PT there. Hosts 90 reward tiers. You can see there's your season journey. You can see we get temporary manuals, which makes sense to help you acquire stuff you need for the affix. And of course, the season journey is 100% free. You can get the premium battle pass if you want to acquire these cool little horses here. And the earns are boost Paragon Glyph experience, boost your reputation with the Iron Wolves and seasonal mechanic, and boost the amount of oboes you get. That looks like the realm there. And then acquired the fabled threads here. So look at that. It looks like we have some more cosmetic. Also, they're dialing up the heat in the shop with new equipment, armor, accessories, mount armor bundles. That'll be playing in style. So this is sort of your purchasable cosmetics. They're going to have a bunch more of that. And then they're going to link down below the community guides. Of course, I'm going to shout out my boy Maxrow because I am part of the Maxrow team. So highly recommend checking out Maxrow if you're going to be needing any guides for Season 4. And then they say here, stay up to date with the Diablo 4 news, because on May 2nd, 11 a.m. Pacific, which is tomorrow, there will be the developer update live stream. And your boy is on vacation. I'm sitting actually on a beach here in Hawaii, and we will be live streaming this basically from the edge of the beach here and checking out what the developer update live stream has to do. So you can find the link down to my live stream tomorrow, in which we will be live streaming this as well. And they're going to talk about the updates and learnings they've had from the public test round. So that is effectively what is going on with Diablo 4 Season 4. And all of the information dropped while I was on an airplane, as is tradition. But I'm out here getting some sun. I'm going to go hop in some warm water. Hope you guys think Season 4 looks like fun. I think it looks like fun. Diablo 4 has been doing one of these since launch, but honestly, Season 4 looks pretty good. So I'm actually very excited for it. I'll see y'all tomorrow for the developer update live stream. You can find the links down below to everything. Love you all. Have a wonderful day. I'll be back in a few days, and I'll see you then.